welcome to another exciting episode of 50/24/7 STEAM. That's right, these cool projects just keep happening, and today hopefully will be overly exciting. Today we're going to be talking about the principles of flight. It's a two-part episode, so you'll have to tune in again to the second part of this. But today, what we're going to be making is paper airplanes, one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. Transportation is not only what I teach, it's what I thoroughly enjoy and what moves us from A to B. What you'll need for this project is paper. You bet, it's a paper airplane project. You're going to need some scissors, a little bit of tape, and there's also going to be available in a link below either a Microsoft Word doc or a Google's doc form that has this layout all ready for you to go so that you can make two aircraft from one sheet. Totally awesome. Now again, as always, whenever using scissors, please make sure that you do check with a grown-up so that there are no safety concerns. Fantastic. Let's start to tell you about the principles of flight. Before we start making a paper airplane, it's a good idea to learn some of the parts of an aircraft. What we've got here is just a general aircraft that you might see flying in the sky. What we've got here is we have the body of the plane. This is known as the fuselage. We have the wings, which give the lift to the aircraft. Well, I will explain in a moment. The tail or the rudder of the aircraft keep it going in a straight line. And at the very back of the plane right here, we have something that has another name that you might have used before, an elevator. The elevator will allow the plane to either point up or down so that it can change its angle of attack. In this aircraft, we have engines. Unfortunately, our paper aircraft will be powered by you. In this diagram, we have the cross-sectional side view of a wing. Notice the curved shape of the wing. This angle at which the wing is positioned is known as the angle of attack, this being the front of the wing and this being the trailing edge. The wind that passes over top of the wing has a further distance to travel over the top of the wing, where on the bottom of the wing it has a shorter distance. Therefore, the air underneath the wing moves at a greater speed, creating greater pressure. The longer flowing air over the top creates a small vacuuming effect known as Bernoulli's principle. This creates a suction or a lifting effect on the wing. And therefore, even if the aircraft is incredibly heavy, all full of passengers and cargo, the plane is still able to fly. So what are the principles of flight anyhow? Well, there are two positives to flight and then two somewhat negatives that the aircraft, which is known as a heavier than air vehicle, has to overcome in order for it to fly. What we have working against the plane is the weight of the aircraft. Gravity on Earth is pulling down on this aircraft. The next thing we have working against our aircraft is something known as drag. Drag is the resistance to the movement through airflow. In order for our aircraft to overcome these, we need to first of all give our plane some thrust. This will be done by your hand throwing the aircraft, and the lift will be created by the actual. This image is from the template that I've attached to the video. This is just something simple to hopefully pass through your printer to, on your first attempt, give you a little bit of the guidelines that will be needed in order to make your plane. One sheet of paper will allow you to make two aircraft, and then you can decorate them later on. So for this example, I'd like to show you how we're going to accomplish that task. Even though the printer may have printed fairly accurately, you still want to make sure that all of your lines line up properly. So by folding the page in half and making sure you take that extra time in lining up your corners, this will give you the first line that you need to cut down. Grab your scissors and start cutting. At this point, we can now hold the second sheet of paper for another aircraft at another time. Take your first sheet of paper and fold it in half again, making sure that when you're manufacturing your aircraft as accurately as you can come up with. See how even then, after the print off, the lines are slightly off-centered? That's okay, because what we're going to be doing is making sure that we're using the actual fold lines. The first fold is to take the upper corner here and fold it into our center line. Now, as we said, you want to make sure that you reduce all the resistance to the flow of air going over your plane. So make sure that you push down nice and hard and crease those angles in there. The next fold is to make the plane even pointier. So you can see this one line here, and that's the point that we're trying to match up with. You need to bring the piece of paper down to the center line again and fold this in. It's really important that all of these folds do end up in the center of this paper fuselage. Fold this one in, crease it nice and tight. Now at this point, you have a delta wing. You need to make a fuselage. So we'll bring the two halves of the aircraft up, creasing it down as much as possible. Remember, you don't want to have any resistance to the flow of air. At this point, we have a wing folded up and need to create the body of a plane. It's important at this point, if you're having any difficulty in folding this, a small ruler might help you to do some guidance along this edge. We would like to make a straight fuselage line down the side of our aircraft here. This will create a wing and the fuselage body of the aircraft. In order to match that up so that you create two identical wings, you can use what you just folded as your guide to make sure that your wing lines up with the other one. At this point, you do have a paper airplane. And if you were to fly this, it would go okay, but there's a couple of modifications that we can do to make this aircraft fly even better. The first one that we've got is we need to make a tail. That will give it some stability. Holding the plane on the side, we're going to make an angled cut forward in the back of our fuselage. It goes right up to the tip of the wings, and then you're going to flip, flop, fold the top, and make a tail out of the back of our aircraft. If it's standing up straight, you can do a slight inspection. Anything that needs to be additionally folded down can be done. If you're concerned that your aircraft might come apart in the middle, now's that time when you can use that little piece of tape just in the center to hold the body of the plane together. Just a little bit on the main spine. Now from here on this diagram, when you're making these aircraft, I've included some elevator cut marks. On the one that we're making here, you just need to make two small slices up the back of the aircraft on either side of the wing. Now here's the cool thing. On the earlier diagram, we wanted the plane to point up in the sky. So in order to make the plane point up in the sky when we throw it and fly it, we actually need to take the little elevators at the back and give them just a slight bend. You don't want to put too much of a bend on it because that will cause too much resistance to the flow of air. And when you're all ready to go at this point, you have your aircraft ready to fly. Thanks for joining us on Team 50 24/7 STEAM. Enjoy your airplane, and remember, join us on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for more videos.